All right, Rumi part two. And I need to get my book, so hold on a second. I left it at the other end of the room. Um, it's being elusive. God, am I gonna have to teach without a book? Oh my God. Oh, here it is. Almost dying. Okay. Wait. So I'm back. All right, so we're going to split the sack. What page is that? 44. Okay, guys, please turn to page 44. We will proceed as we did last time. Again, remember, this is poetry. We need each other, right? We need to build on each other's interpretations. Most of you probably have something amazing to say, right? That will really enrich the class. So we're going to be today exceptionally, right? Like last time, I'm going to be lecturing with you. So I need you to help me interpret these passages. All right, let's begin. Split the sack. All right, so here he begins with two images. He compares us to a bird and to a fish, right? So first he compares us to a bird who has wings but doesn't fly. And then, same idea, a fish which is on the land near the water but doesn't jump in to swim. Okay, let me read it, right? He says this on the top. Why does the soul not fly when it hears the call? Why does a fish gasping on land but near the water not move back into the sea? And then a few lines later, we are out of our cages with our wings spread, yet we do not lift off. Okay, how is he talking about some of us here? How is he here describing a lot of us when it comes to love? What is he saying about a lot of us when it comes to love? Hat, go ahead.
So I think here he's saying that he thinks that we're not really risk takers, we're not willing to sacrifice yet to see something good could come out of it. Not many people are taking that step forward, so that's probably why we're not flying and we're not going back to the ocean and our souls aren't going where they're supposed to be.
Okay, very good, right? What he's talking about here is the risk implied in love, right? Many times making a decision about love, right? Choosing to love, right? Whether it's trying a new relationship or whether it's staying in a relationship, right? Which has become difficult, right? Choosing to love often feels like you're about to die, like you're going to lose everything, right? There is a risk in choosing to stay the course, right? Or choosing to try a new relationship. And we're afraid, right? We're afraid of losing. We're afraid of, whether it's losing our happiness or losing something, right? We're all, there's so, right? We are always afraid to make this decision, right? Whether it's staying the course in a relationship, I choose to stay with you because that's what love is telling me to do right now, or I choose to try, right, entering this relationship with you because that's what love is calling me to do. But there's always a risk that we will be hurt, a risk that we will be rejected, a risk that we will find ourselves left behind, right? But what he's saying is here, if you choose love, you will always end up where you were meant to be, right? You will always be fully yourself. In other words, just like the fish, scared to enter the water, but once he enters the water, it's going to be amazing, right? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be safe, right? The fish in the water is not safer than he is on land, but it's going to be his element. This is where he's going to blossom. And so what we often don't realize is that the risk of love also has to do with the blossoming, self-development, self-blossoming is the only way to do so, right? Is to choose love. Yes, it's a risk. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, you might lose your protection, your, right, something, but you will find your true self. That's what the text is saying. We should never be afraid to make a decision from a place of love, to choose to love, right? Even if it feels like death, like, I don't want to stay with you. This is horrible. Or I don't want to, I'm afraid to try with you. Right? What he's saying is to make that decision, we will actually find our highest selves and we will find our highest destiny, right? If you want to have an extraordinary life, always choose from a place of love instead of choosing from a place of fear. If you want an ordinary life where you're comfortable and things are going well, choose from a place of fear. If I do this, I'm going to suffer. Let me go here. Right? If I do this, I'm going to be uncomfortable. Let me go here. You're going to have a comfortable life. But if you want an extraordinary life, choose from a place of love. Yes, it will be less safe, less comfortable, more treacherous, but your wings will be spread instead of like this, right? So this is what Rumi is inviting us to experience, right? He's saying most of us are just comfortable. We have comfortable, ordinary lives. Why? Because we are always making all our decisions from a place of fear and self-preservation. But were we to begin to choose the risk of love, we would finally fly, right? We would finally enter the ocean. We are missing out on extraordinary destinies because we are living from a place of fear rather than from a place of love. Any questions? I made a big speech. Any questions on what I'm saying, or doubts, or reservations? Okay. Are you listening to me? Okay. Sometimes I wonder. Okay, great. Thank you for waving at me, a couple of you. Great. All right, moving on. Here's a good one. I'm going a few lines down. We keep collecting rocks and broken bits of pottery like children, pretending they're merchant. And then he says we should split the sack of this culture and stick our heads out. Okay, let me give you a visual of what's going on here. How many of you traded stuff when you were younger? You had little things that you would trade with your friends. How many of you did that? Put your hand. Okay, let me ask you, a few of you, what you traded. Rivera, what did you trade? You're not gonna tell us?
You're gonna make me feel so old. I used to trade Pokemon cards in lunch.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I was trading Garbage Pail Kid cards, so this is even older. If any of you know this. So, great. Let's see. Who else had their hand? Hot, I think. What did you trade?
Mostly food.
Oh, food. Okay. That's good. Yes, when I was young, I traded stamps. I was a nerd when I was a kid, and there was an older kid who tricked me one day. I have to tell this story each time. It's my therapy. So I had this like 1 cent stamp, which is very valuable, and he had a 3 cent stamp, which is less valuable. And somehow he came up with a story, and I remember doing the trade deep down knowing I wasn't supposed to. And I remember walking home that day with a deep feeling that something had gone terribly wrong, but I didn't know what exactly. I was very young. I was maybe 5. So this guy just tricked me, and I sensed it, but I couldn't, right? So this is what happens as kids, right? When we start to enter this business. So here he's saying, a lot of us, when we love, we are like those kids trading. I give you this card, you give me this card. I give you this stamp, you give me that stamp. Sometimes we get tricked, like me, right? So what does he mean here by saying we are like these kids? And by the way, he means that we should not be like these kids. He says a lot of us are like this, but instead of being like this, he says we should split the sack and stick our heads out, which we'll talk about, right? So what is he saying when he says a lot of us are like these kids, just trading back and forth when it comes to love? What does this image mean? Go ahead, Albert.
I think that people think that love is transactional. Like it's about just like, oh, how much can you give and then how much can they give you in return?
Exactly, right. A lot of us, we go into love as a business arrangement, right? Oh, he's giving me this, now I'm going to give this. Oh, he doesn't give me this, well, I'm not going to give him this, right? And we always think of love like this. And what Rumi is saying is like, when we think like this, we're like these children on the street playing these silly games, right? We need to rise above it, right? We need to learn to love because it is in our nature to love, right? Not because I'm getting something back. We'll talk about this later with Kierkegaard, right? This ability to love just because it's your nature, without thinking, even imagining or expecting, right, anything in return, right? So this is kind of what Rumi is talking about in this very simple language is actually something very difficult, right? A lot of these ideas that he's bringing to us through the poetry are things that instinctively, culturally, we would never choose, right? He's giving us, remember when he talked about the wisdom from Egypt, 100 caravans, remember the last poem? We are talking here about a deeper wisdom than the wisdom of, which will bring you happiness, right? There's a wisdom to lead a happy, ordinary life. Yes, this is the wisdom of your friends, your therapist, your parents, right? But what Rumi is talking about here is a deeper wisdom. This is the wisdom for those who want to live an extraordinary life, right? And so a lot of what he's talking about goes against our society's wisdom, goes against your common sense, goes against what all your friends will tell you, right? And family members and your therapist. Therapists are so helpful in that way. Why? Because they're thinking of your comfort. They're not thinking of your destiny, right? Rumi is calling us towards a higher destiny than comfort, right? And for this, we have to take the risk. We have to stop the trade, right? Only then, he says, will we really fly. Most of us live lives in cages with our wings like this, right? And it's comfortable. We get fed. We see the nice scenery outside. We might have a companion, right, in the cage, right? And it's kind of a nice life, but Rumi is talking about something else. If you want to leave the cage and spread your wings, you have to be capable of such a love as that, right? Jumping off, right? Loving without expectations. This is the next poem, right? And this, he says, is leaving our childhood. He calls it that, right? When he says split the sack and stick our heads out. What does he mean by this sack? He's talking about an experience we have all had. We've all been at one point in a sack and we've all stuck our heads out. What is he talking about? See if any of you catch it. What's the image? Hot, go ahead.
Is he talking about birth?
Yes, we are in the placenta, right? Are we? That's the thing? Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Right? And then we have to get out. And he's saying most of us, we live a life, we want the placenta. We want comfort, we want easy. We don't want, right? And so we're there, but we become in a way half dead, right? If you stay in the placenta too long, you're just going to die, right? And he's saying at one point, we have to step out. We have to risk. We have to dare. We have to be uncivilized, uncivil. We have to, go beyond the common sense, right? And we have to look around and leave our childhood, right? So he's inviting us here to a destiny above, beyond our comfort zone. So you really have a choice, right? You can actually choose. What do you want out of your life, right? Do you want comfortable or do you want extraordinary, right? Do you want ordinary or extraordinary? Comfortable or risky, right? Fear or love, right? That's what he's saying. He's saying you can totally be happy, right? If you choose to stay in the sack, you'll be happy. But do you want to be alive, right? That's the difference from happy, comfortable to being alive and having an extraordinary life. And for this, we have to stick our heads out, right? We have to live according to another level than just my happiness. We have to live according to love, not just self-preservation, right? Okay, now we're going to go even deeper in this notion of loving without expectations in the next poem. Let's go there. No expectations, page 76. Actually, first quickly, let's memorize. Those were the days when teachers made you memorize stuff. Let's go over some of the things we learned in this first poem. I'm going to write them down. What's one thing we can learn from everything we talked about that I can summarize for you guys? You can put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. Hot, go ahead.
Sacrifice. You have to be willing to sacrifice.
Yes, willing to sacrifice. And what will you get out of it?
An extraordinary life.
Okay, this is the path of extraordinary, right? It's not easy. I can't spell extraordinary. This is really hard, okay, to spell. Exactly, right? You want easy, you want happy? It's okay, you can have that. It's your choice, right? You want challenging and, in a way exciting, right? This is the other path, right? So very good. So number two, there's a risk to love, but also this is what will make you come alive, right? That's what we have in the chat, right? This notion of Okay, somebody's having trouble breathing, like our little bird in the cage. Go, Safin, go. Go breathe. Okay, great. Okay, excellent. Anything else before uh anything else? Any other lesson? Okay, great. All right, let's go to low expectations. Page 76. Okay, let's see how much time I have. Good, I have a lot of time. Okay, let's skip to the second line. This is a great line to recite to your parents when they don't approve of your date. Right? Suppose you're on a date with someone, they're like, "Ah, who is that? You can't go with them," right? This is a line for them. Be foolishly in love, he says, because love is all there is. What does he mean by being foolishly in love? What's he saying? What do you think he's telling us? And this is all connected to what we just talked about. So you should be able to respond. Williams, go ahead.
Saying like love with no moral, love with no extension or no limit.
Oh,
Sometimes.
exactly, right. Love in a way that seems crazy to other people. So what is it? What does it mean when you start to look crazy? What are people telling you when you look crazy to them? What are you doing? So Nieves is talking about boundless love. What do you mean, Nieves?
It's like love without restrictions or boundaries. Like it can let it go wild, sort of.
So what type of restrictions? Tell me, give me an example.
I don't know, class, race.
Okay, great. Yes, absolutely, right. Common sense would tell you be with someone of your own class, your own race, your own religion, right? As Islam is mentioning. Here's a be foolish. Don't take this advice, right? Yeah, it'll be harder. That's true, right? If it's a different race, a different class, if it's a different religion, you're gonna have challenges, right? But, right, this is be foolishly in love, right? You love that person, go for it, he says, right? In a way, love will most of the time bring us against common sense. This is very different from the Greeks, right? Remember the Greeks were saying be wise, right? Choose wisely. Here he's saying be foolish. Don't worry about yourself. Just worry about loving, right? And this is, by the way, it sounds kind of cliche to say that, but it's actually very difficult, right? To just love because that's who you are versus loving because you want to get something in return, that's what it means to be foolishly in love, right? You choose to love, you're not thinking of the smart thing to do for you. To be foolishly in love is to be egoless in love. That's what this is saying, right? Be egoless. Don't think of you when you love. And when you stop thinking, oh, am I going to be happy? Or is this going to work out? Or, is this the right person for me? All these questions, right? They're wise, right? They're the wisdom of the culture, right? Choose well. Is this the right person? Are you going to be happy? Do you share values? And here you are being all smart about it. And Rumi is saying, stop thinking. Stop thinking. Let go of the ego's thoughts, right? Love because you have been called to love. Don't love because it will get you something in return, right? Love in many ways is a calling, right? Which often will bring you beyond. It's post-happiness, right? It will bring you beyond happiness. Doesn't mean it won't be happy. It'll just be a higher form, right? And that's what he's saying here, right? Be foolishly in love. Don't overthink, because who is overthinking? The ego, right? Self-preservation is the one overthinking. The moment you stop thinking of self-preservation and are just thinking, I feel called to love this person, I'm going to do it, you're foolish, but at the same time, you're wise beyond your years, right? That's the idea here. It's the wisdom of the foolish, in a way. Okay, continuing. Gets worse. If someone asks, but what is love? Answer, dissolving the will. Same idea. What does this mean? Dissolving the will. That sounds very, dangerous. Dissolving my will? Like, what's left? What's left when you dissolve the will? Is anything left? Tell me. What's left of you when you dissolve your will? Anything left? Some of us, nothing. What does a will mean, basically? And what does it mean to dissolve it? Hot, go ahead. It's you and me today.
I guess your will is something that you leave behind so that, like, I guess the things that you want, you could pass on to whoever you want them to. But if you dissolve your will, then you don't have anything left.
Very good, right? This is a distinction between us defined as having and being defined as being, right? When you're in a relationship, you have less. You can't do everything you want to do. Yeah, you have less. It's true. You can't date all the people you want to date. Unless you're doing one of those fancy open relationships, right? But in general, right? You can't go everywhere you want to go. You can't, there are many things that you don't have anymore, right? But you're increased on the level of being. You have more on the level of being. You have now more connection. You have more companionship. So in many ways, right? Love is in a way dissolving the urge to have everything you want, right? But it's bringing you so much more in that sense, right? So in a way, you dissolve what you want in order to gain, to make room for the other person. By the way, this is the structure of love. If you want to have room for another person, you have to in some way interrupt yourself. Let's imagine the following scenario. You're watching TV and you're watching your favorite show, which is, suppose you're a girl, I guess it would be Outlander, right? Let's be really sexist. Outlander, y'all know this show? It's a chick flick, right? So your boyfriend or husband comes in, he wants to watch the soccer, whatever, football. And now you're like, I'm not watching football. So what happens when you say that to your boyfriend and husband, when you tell them, I'm not watching that? What's going to happen inevitably? Is he going to stay with you and bring you a breakfast in bed? I mean, in the room. I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to break up over that, but is he going to stay in the room with you and watch your chick flick? What's going to happen? Okay, you're going to have a fight, or there's two kinds of guys. There's those who are going to fight, and then what's the other type? See if you know your repertoire. Oh, watch together, Vargas. What a nice guy you're with. Oh, take the controller and change it. There's still a fourth kind of guy. Then, oh, you guys don't know this type of guy? Just walk out the room and do his own thing? Okay, 4 reactions. None of them good. Well, except Vargas. Vargas has a very nice boyfriend. He sit with you and watch the chick flick.
I don't. I was just, it would be good. I don't. It's just,
That's why you gave that answer. It's like the ideal. What was it? What you gonna have? You're gonna have a fight? The guy will walk out, or he'll just grab the remote from you and watch his damn game, right? So you, in a way, when you only focus on what you want, right, you don't have room for another person, right? And in a way, contracting, interrupting, making space for what they want is a way to create intimacy, right? This is also, and that's why he's saying, what is love ultimately? Is the ability to dissolve the will. Now, when he says dissolve the will, doesn't mean dissolve your principles, dissolve your values, dissolve your identity. He's not saying that, just the will, right? What you want, right? The rest, your identity, your values, your principles, right? This is not part of the equation here, right? This is just the ability to share. I think that's what he's talking about. The ability to share, the ability to let yourself be interrupted by the presence of the other, right? Which is very difficult. All of this stuff is difficult. Okay, now we get to this crazy part on page 77, which I want to focus on a little bit because I think I finally figured out what it's about. There's this weird, so first of all, there's a more simple line right on the top, but this love path has no expectations, right? Let's talk about that briefly. What does it mean that love has no expectations? Can anyone tell me what? I mean, your therapist will say, well, you should be clear about your expectations, right? Your therapist will go, you need to be clear about your expectations and communicate them. Why is he saying then that love has no expectations? What is he trying to say? Why is he always speaking against your therapist? Okay, let's see what Nieves has to say. Okay, you want to say this out loud, Nieves, so we have you on record?
Love won't expect you to be something else, something other than who you are.
Okay, very good. But very often when we have expectations how the other should be, who they should be, what job they should do, how much they should earn, right? How quickly they should commit, right? Here we are with a set of, what are we doing? We are controlling the other with our expectations. It's a kind of a tower of control tower, like an airport, right? Here you are, you need to do this and this and this and this, and then we voice our expectations, right? Expectation is a form of control. And we know already with Rumi, you cannot control, you cannot be the shepherd, right? Love is being the flock, right? Expectations, you release them. Why? Because expectations stem from a place of control. I expect you to be like this, to do this, to commit like this, to give me this type of, present, and so forth. And in a way, in doing so, we destroy the other person, everything they could be, right? We don't see that when we have expectations, right? We don't see everything else they're doing, and we even destroy their agency, right? Their freedom to come towards us in the way that they choose at the time that they choose, right? We don't allow this kind of experience to happen to us because we're always setting the agenda, right? Yes, Vargas, it's impossible to do that. I will attest. I'm teaching this class so I can remind myself what not to do. It's very hard, I agree. Excellent. So Vargas, yes, accept the person as how they are, and especially, right, allow them to come towards you in their own time. This is difficult, in their own way. This is also, right, we like to set the agenda and decide everything, right? From the flow of the relationship, the timeline, what they do, who they become. And what Rumi is saying, release it, right? Love cannot thrive in an atmosphere of control, right? It will die, right? That's what he's warning us about, right? Dismount, he says, travel lighter. And when you travel lighter, when you've lost your expectations, wings will be given, right? So in a way, to relinquish control in the relationship feels like you're going to fall into the vacuum, right? Like falling from an airplane, but wings will be given, right? You're going to discover a totally different way of living, right? If you're able to relinquish control over your partner, right? Okay, now here's the part I want to spend a little bit of time on. So this one, I was so perplexed for years, and I think now I finally sort of figured it out. So this is this passage coming right after the one we just read. Be clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing. Okay, I'm just going to stop on that, and I'm going to riff on that one. Okay, so I was perplexed. I was like, wait a second. A mirror always reflects. What is this? What if I don't reflect? Be clear like a mirror. So in other words, like, be like some kind of surface that doesn't reflect back, that is completely empty and pure, right? So it's a different type of mirror. It's a mirror that absorbs, doesn't reflect back. And so what I want to do, based on this little passage, I want to do something very important, which I try to do in all my classes, because I think this is a skill that we have misunderstood, that we do not know how to use, and which can be life-saving, right, in a relationship. And this is the skill of forgiveness. So I want to talk a little bit about forgiveness in general, in the context, the Hebrew context from which it comes from. And then I'm going to connect back to this, be clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing. You're going to see there's a connection. So let's begin. Are you guys ready for a quick workshop on forgiveness? Put your hand in the screen. This is very useful information. We have been told we have to forgive, but we have no idea how or why, right? So let's go into it. In the Hebrew, to forgive is nasa, which actually literally means, and this is important, to carry. Okay, so you're going to see connections with our text. In other words, to forgive is to carry. What does this mean? It means you take, you don't reflect. You take, you don't react. You take, you don't throw back in their face. Example, someone yells at you, Normal reaction, tell me, what would you do? That's what I would do. I'll be honest. What would you do? Someone's yelling at you, you yell back. Or you stay silent, but inside you've cut them off forever. Right? These are the two paths. Everybody on these two paths? Right? Either you're going to yell back and then maybe reconcile. It's easier for those who yell back to reconcile. Or you're going to be the internal one. You say nothing, but inside, right? It's over. These are two ways of reacting. Something does something bad to you. You can either react externally or react internally. But in either case, you're reacting, right? To carry means you don't react. What does it mean? It means you don't, make sure you write this down. It means you don't allow the poison that has been addressed to you to enter you. You don't allow their behavior to make you like them, right? In other words, you don't allow their negativity to make you into a negative person. That's what it means in the Hebrew to carry. I'm going to take it, but I'm not going to throw it back in your face, either externally or internally. I'm going to absorb it, right? I'm not going to allow, you're yelling, I'm not going to yell, and I'm not going to be resentful. I'm going to stay the happy person I was before you yelled at me. You see what I'm saying? Right? In other words, what is happening is that people will wound us, right? That's inevitable. We will receive painful betrayals, painful behaviors. What Rumi is saying here, we'll see in a second, or what the Hebrew concept of forgiveness is saying, you don't allow the pain to become toxic. In other words, you don't allow the pain to become damaging. Pain, you can always heal. Pain will never damage you. What will damage you is what you do with the pain, how you react to the pain. Are you going, suppose someone betrays you, does something terrible, are you going to, you're going to suffer it. Are you now going to allow this pain to make you toxic? That is to say, resentful, cold-hearted, cut you off, do something worse to you, right? And all of these things we are doing now which are reactive. Now the pain is becoming a poison, and this is when the damage begins. Pain will never damage you. We should be absolutely unafraid of pain. Pain comes and goes. You do a good workout, no more pain. Right? It's very easy to, in time, pain will go. But resentment will stay forever. Closing your heart will just, that's your life. It will change the course of your life, right? Becoming vengeful, right? Aggressive. This is how the pain becomes toxic. And to carry is to simply carry the pain without the pushback, without the toxic element, right? So now we can see this text in Rumi, be clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing, stay pure. The only way to stay pure in life, no matter what is hitting us, right? So many crazy people in your life will try to destroy you. I'm very pessimistic, right? Yet you can come out of this unscathed. How? Obviously you will suffer, but you don't have to allow that pain to change you and to make you into a negative, toxic person. And at that moment, you rise, right? You are clear like a mirror. You have conserved your purity. You have conserved your integrity. You have conserved your joy and your peace. You have not allowed them to take that away from you. And that's what it means to forgive. The first person we forgive for is us. You forgive as a gift to yourself. That's the first person you are gifting when you forgive, right? Are you following me on this first point? Any questions on that? Great, put your hand on the screen. Yeah, any questions? Okay, this is so important. First person you're really helping when you forgive is yourself. To forgive simply means I don't allow the pain you inflicted on me to become poison. In other words, I will not react either internally or externally to what you did to me. I'm going to stay me. I'm going to stay the joyful, wise, loving person that I was before you did this to me, right? And so by forgiving, by taking, by absorbing without pushing back or reacting in any way, you are protecting yourself. But you're also, in a way, it's also a gift to the other person. How so? How are you, in a way, also offering a gift to the other person when you choose to forgive what they did? Hot, go ahead.
Well, I think they'll feel bad about what they did and then they won't do it again.
Okay, right. Yes, this is one way to awaken them, right? If you just yell back, I'll give you an example in my own life, right? In my family, we're yellers. I grew up yelling. Everybody was yelling. I have a very loud voice. Well, not with you, but I can, right? So one day, my dad, who was on the path to righteousness, was trying to, better himself. I was obviously still savage. And so we were yelling, and one day I just yelled at him, expecting him to yell back, and he just stayed silent. Oh, it was unbearable. I felt so bad. I've never felt this bad in my life. I had to go and apologize profusely. I felt like a monster, right? So in many ways, right, when you choose to just stay silent and take it without reacting, the other person is literally going to, it will be appalling for them, right, in a way. I mean, not all people, right, but it will certainly have an impact on most people, and they will, in a way, have some kind of awakening, right, that, now they're all by themselves yelling. Now they really see that they're the crazy one in the room, right? So that's the idea, right? So it can also create an opportunity for the other person to go through their own transformation. So in a way, you're also gifting the other person when you forgive, right? And finally, you're gifting the world, because if you absorb without reacting back, you are in a way stopping the cycle, right, of suffering. You're not making it bigger, right? They did this, it stops with me. No more. I'm not going to perpetuate this vicious circle. And in a way, you are interrupting the great cycle of evil in the world. You're allowing for there to be less negativity, right? You are cleansing, in a way, the cosmos by absorbing, right? It's a very powerful, powerful tool. The act of forgiveness it can protect you, it can transform the person you're with, and it can rejuvenate the world, right? This is a very powerful gift we have been given, right? And so I really think this is what he's talking about here. Be clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing. I mean, he's also talking about other things, but I just decided to riff on this and go in this direction, right? He continues and says, be clean of pictures and the worry that comes with images. Here he's talking about, again, expectations, right? So that's the idea. Any questions on the little forgiveness workshop we just talked about? Or concerns or objections, or this is easy to say but not easy to do? Anybody want to protest? This is your moment. We have 10 minutes to discuss. So we have whole 10 minutes to go over some of these ideas. Hot, go ahead.
I just want to say, when I was reading this, I also talked about this in my group. I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, this is terrible advice. Only because I thought I completely got it wrong. I didn't think it was that. I just thought that he was saying, oh, I thought he was basically saying that don't love. It means that if you want to be in a relationship, you can't show anything. And I was just like, oh, that's horrible. I was like, that's horrible advice. Why would you want to be closed off in your relationship? That's going to make the other person hate you. I thought that's what he was saying. And we talked about how contradicting that was to his other poem, which was so nice. And I was like, be free. And then in this one, I was just like, wow, he's...
Yeah, be
yeah. But I didn't, so I got that part wrong.
Okay, great. Yeah, there's other ways to interpret this, right? You can also interpret this as be clear like a mirror, in the sense of having no expectations in your mind, cluttering your mind and messing up the relationship. That could be one way, right? Because that's what he says right after. He talks about being pure emptiness. That might be a reference to meditation, to learning to unclutter yourself, right? To make room for the other. There's many ways to see this, right? So I just took that little path because I thought this was an important aspect that we need to talk about. Brown, go ahead.
I thought it just meant that just don't have any expectations going in. Just enjoy it and go with the flow.
Yeah.
Don't close yourself off. That's what I kind of picked up
Yeah,
from
that
it.
works. That works too. Yeah. You're actually closer to the text than me, I think, because he continues and says, be clean of pictures and the worry that comes with images. We are so cluttered with wanting to control every move. I love the way you said it. You come in open, right? Instead of coming in with like, ah, it has to go like this, and after 2 years we have to be there, and then we have to have this, and and so we destroy the relationship with our expectations. So entering, I love the way you put it, Brown, you enter open, ready to experience what there is to experience. I really like that. It's very freeing. It kind of feels hard, but at the same time really freeing. I like that, Brown. Anybody else? Okay, cool. If there is no one else, we will call it a day. Brown, you have something, you have your hand still up. Does that mean you want to talk again?
Yeah. What about the other play? The two sack. If I'm saying this right, the two sacks, or I forget the name of it offhand. The first play, the first poem where he's saying you should pretty much your dreams. You should, or I perceived it as your dreams. You should go after your dreams. You should not hold back. How come we leave our dreams on the table and just look at it and not really partake in it? Am I off on that, or?
No, I mean, if you can tell me where exactly, but I can already respond.
That was the first play on 44. I don't have my book near me.
44?
I forget the name of the poem.
Split the sack. Yeah.
Split the sack. Yes.
Oh, we just did that, right? Oh, is it what is it? Call out commands yourself. You're the king. Phrase your question.
Yeah, that part was like so.
This is a really good point you're making, because dreams are not expectations, right? Dreams, that's for you, right? That's your desires, right? And this, of course, we have to. And I'm glad you mentioned it, because very often we don't only sacrifice our expectations, we sacrifice our dreams. But this is not the same thing. Expectation is for the other. You need to become this and this and this. Dreams is for you, right? So in many ways, what the poet is saying is like, don't prescribe to the other what they should be. Let them be, let them live their life, learn their life lessons, grow in the way they're meant to grow. But you protect your dreams, right? If there's something you desire for yourself, then yes, you should, right? Like I said on page 44 beautifully, right? You are the king. Phrase your question, or I could say phrase your desire, and expect the grace of a response, right? So this is an invitation for us. Yes, we are clear like a mirror when it comes to changing the other, but we can certainly express our own desires and our own dreams. Make sense, Bram?
Got it.
Definitely. I wish there was, yeah, when we get to Kierkegaard, we can talk about that more, about the difference between expecting or, someone to change and desiring for them to change. There is a difference, right? Many of us, sometimes we're in a relationship, the other person is a mess, and we start to act like, I won't tolerate this behavior anymore. That's what we say, right? I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. You need to change. This is not a desire. This is a command, right? So there's a difference between commanding, expecting, and thinking it's due to us. It's our right, to simply desiring, I long for there to be a change, right? It's two different approaches. When you desire, the other is a grace, right? Expect the grace of an answer. The other chooses to respond. We do not control that. We are in a state of grace when it comes to desire. Expectation is we're in control. You do what I want. You see the difference, Brown? So
absolutely.
Both are coming from a place of things need to change around here, right? But there's two ways of doing it. One way is you become a castrating, right? You need to change. I'm not happy. You're this and this and this and this, and I can't stand it anymore. Or I long for, and we'll be talking about the difference between these two approaches. when we talk about Kierkegaard and maybe even Buber. Yeah, great comment. Anybody else?
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome. Anybody else? 6 minutes. We have 6 minutes. Use them well. This is your opportunity to go through all your issues with love. You're gonna regret not not using this time wisely when you're in a when you enter the chaos of love. All right, shall we call it a day? You'd rather just I have something on Netflix I want to watch too, so I'm ready to call it a day personally. All right, guys, so next time we start a new author. He's very difficult. You need to listen to that introductory video or you will be lost like you have no idea. So make sure, right, for next time you listen to Kant, right, the introduction to Kant that I put on the playlist, and you want to start reading the first text because next week we start already with the first text of Kant. So now we're switching registers, right? We were in a nice place with poetry, right, dialogues, and now we're really going to be moving into more substantial, more kind of Western philosophy, more like arguments and rigor. So it's going to be slightly different. So listen to the introduction I give so you can really enter those waters without suffering. And also there's some very important information that I think will be on the test, so you don't miss that lecture. And then we'll go into the first text on the, what day do we meet? Help me. Tuesday, Wednesday, what day are we? So I'm serious, I don't know.
Tuesday.
Thank
Tuesday.
you.
Tuesday.
So Tuesday.
Next 23rd.
Thank you. And next Tuesday we'll be talking about the first text of Kant. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording before